wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Dr. Martin Luther King, letter from Birmingham.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. My name is Steve, and that, of course, was Dan. Dan, how are things going with you today?
Things are great. New York is cold as all get out, but I'm good.
Yeah, things are a little chilly here as well. I actually got out of work the entire week because of it. They didn't want children getting on the school bus when it was, -7 or whatever, and then wind chill on top of that. But this week on the Sunday Stoic Podcast, we're continuing our tour of the virtues. And this week, as you may have guessed, we are talking about justice. And justice is a very important virtue if you want to think of it that way. I mean, all the virtues are important and interdependent, but justice is it helps to explain why we're here and what we're trying to accomplish each day. And the other virtues then help us to direct that into action. So we know we're here to work in society, to work with others, to help others, to be part of the community. And then we can use our courage, our temperance, and our wisdom to help make things happen. And that's where we're going this week. Dan, would you like to continue our exploration of justice?
The Stoics often advised us to live according to nature. And a big part of living according to nature was to live according to our human nature, which is living as a rational and social animal. The most important way to cultivate our social nature is by embodying justice. And justice is another way that, frequently people, when they first hear about Stoicism, think that it's all about just deadening your emotions and being all concerned with your own tranquility. And this really puts that to bed. That's not true, because you cannot embody the virtue of justice internally. You have to interact with the outside world. It implies that you are interacting with other creatures. How can you embody justice internally?
Right. If I stay in my basement and I don't communicate with others, I'm not really practicing justice. In fact, Marcus Aurelius has a quote I'm going to read real fast because it's really short, from Meditations 9.4. You can also commit injustice by doing nothing. So just based on that alone, if you're ignoring problems that you could do something about, like here, just something simple. We don't have to go into what's happening in the world right now. Just what's happening next door right now. Like, I have an elderly neighbor, and I checked in to see if they needed help shoveling snow. Right. If I didn't, and they didn't need help, so I didn't help them. But as if I had not checked in, and then I found out that the guy had a heart attack or something because I was too lazy to check in on them, I would have felt that I had been unjust in that case by not reaching out and at least offering to assist.
And I have another quote from Marcus Aurelius. Take pleasure in one thing and rest in it, in passing from one social act to another social act, thinking of God. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 6.7.
Yeah, the Stoics viewed all of us as essentially siblings sharing the spark of reason given to us by God, Zeus, nature, what have you, the divine logos. There
yes.
you go. And therefore, we are all connected in that sense. If you want to take it from a Carl Sagan-y perspective, we're all of the same stardust. We're all from the same Big Bang. We're all from the same evolutionary ancestors as well. So we are all interconnected and interdependent, and therefore we are social beings in a society, in a community, in the cosmopolis. So it helps us, if you want to be greedy about it, to help others, because when everything's working well, then we're doing well at the same time.
Yes, as Martin Luther King said, we are tied together in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny.
Exactly. And sometimes it's hard to be just. Maybe somebody you don't really like that much needs help. But Epictetus, I'm not going to read the exact quote to you, but Epictetus says to always grab things by the smooth handle. It's kind of a weird quote.
Well,
I
the
always
idea
have
was,
to,
I think that the urns and stuff that they kept food in had two handles,
yeah.
and he would say that one handle is broken, and you can either grab it by the broken handle, it's hard to handle, or you can grab it by the one that works, and the one that works is that they're like your brother or your friend or your
Yeah,
neighbor.
yeah. So if like your brother's being a jerk, you can interact with the jerk or you can interact with your brother. It's the same person, but you choose the narrative. You choose how you decide to approach the situation. This person needs help. There's someone that has perhaps done you wrong, or you think they've done you wrong, or whatever. But you could also put that aside and say, but this is a person that needs my help. This is a neighbor that needs my help, a member of my country, a member of my town, whatever it may be, that needs my help. And then you focus on it from that angle instead of the broken handle that that hurts to hold. Approach it from the smooth handled side, and you'll be a little happier and perhaps a little more gracious at that point.
For the folks out there, if you really want to examine how the Stoics viewed justice, you could do a lot worse than reading through Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, because as emperor, he lived justice every day. He was the ruler of millions of people. Every decision he made affected lots and lots of people in the world. So he was very focused on the idea that he had to be just and that he had to make decisions based on social ends.
He reminds himself of that in lots of different ways all the time in his journal, basically. And another book you might check out is Beyond the Individual.
Will Johncock.
There you go. Do you want to say anything else about that text?
Um, it's a
Kai,
great text.
Kai
It's one of my
has one.
favorites.
Kai has one in that vein as well.
Being Better,
Yeah,
I
being
believe.
better. Yeah, I interviewed him about that a while back. But being better and Beyond the Individual kind of focus on
The
uh,
social aspects
yeah,
of
the social
Stoicism.
aspect, integrating yourself into the cosmopolis and not being one of these broics that are just,
Thinks it's
you know,
all about rugged individualism and
yeah, I'm a man.
yeah, Will Johncock was actually the first person that explained the concept so that I could understand it, of the fact that by virtue of the fact that each of us are entrusted with a portion of the divine logos for however long we are alive, because we are each connected to the divine logos, we are each an extension of the divine logos, and through the divine logos, we are connected to each other. And he does a very good job. He does a much better job of describing it than I do, and I highly recommend people check it out. And I have a quote here from Marcus, because he has lots of good justice quotes. As thou thyself art a component of a social system, so let every act of thine be a component part of social life. Whatever act of thine, then, has no reference either immediately or remotely to a social end, this tears asunder thy life, and does not allow it to be one, and it is of the nature of a mutiny. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 9.23.
I'm going to jump in here with one from Seneca. This is letter 47 from Letters from a Stoic. I am glad to learn, through those who come from you, that you live on friendly terms with your slaves. This befits a sensible and well-educated man like yourself. They are slaves, people declare. Nay, rather, they are men. Slaves? No. Comrades. Slaves? No, they are unpretentious friends. Slaves? No, they are our fellow slaves. If one reflects that fortune has equal rights over slaves and freemen alike. So at the time, treating a slave as a comrade or someone you dine with could be seen as a social faux pas, perhaps, or something that you would just not do. But Seneca disagrees. Uh, slavery was pretty entrenched in the society at these times. But Seneca, I'm sure, had plenty of slaves, but agreed with the idea of treating them as fellow travelers, knowing that there's nothing but fate that prevented him from being a slave himself.
Yes, he said that social standing is something we wear like clothing. And he also had other sections where he talked about how he would dine with his slaves, even the ones that other folks would turn up their noses at, like the muleteers and the shepherds and stuff like that.
So treat those around you that others may walk right past. One thing that comes to mind, like thankfully we don't have slaves in the same way that they did at that time anymore, and hopefully never again. But think about, rather than slaves, think of service workers, people who are doing a job that a lot of people treat like crap. And I've heard others say this, like they kind of secretly know if they're going to like someone they're having dinner with by the way they treat their, the wait staff, or so, at a restaurant. Let's say if you're very rude, like that person didn't even cook the food, they didn't set the menu price, they're just taking your order, bringing you things, and if you treat them like crap, then that kind of reflects upon you as an individual, more so than the poor wait staff.
If you just met somebody and it's your first one or two times hanging out with them, observing how they treat wait staff is a great way to figure out what kind of person they are.
I've seen people that I knew that I was very unimpressed when we went out to eat, the way they talked to grocery store checkout people or wait staff or whatever at a restaurant. The people, I've been those people. I've been the grocery store guy. Been treated well, been yelled at for no reason. I know what it's like to be on the receiving end. Maybe that helps you to humble down a bit, but it's just a lot easier to be kind of nice to people. I think I hate to be so cranky that you're a jerk all day long.
And the basic default setting for justice, as they say, is kindness. There's no reason that you can't be kind to somebody, unless they're actually committing an overt act of injustice.
Right.
If they're just going about their day, there's no reason to be unkind to someone.
And quite frankly, if someone's being unkind, sometimes it's even funner to kill them with kindness, as they say, just to, rather than being aggressive, layer it on even thicker. Oh,
Yeah,
how
Marcus
are
Aurelius.
you?
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius advised that. Well, he said not to be sarcastic about it, though. He said
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
he
the hard
just said, yeah, he just said to be relentless in your kindness to them, and eventually they'll have to give up and be nice to you back.
I didn't say I was perfect, Dan. There may be some sarcasm
You're not a
involved.
sage. You're not a sage. Okay.
No, not quite.
There are three disciplines in Stoicism. There's temperance is closely tied to the discipline of desire and aversion, and prudence is tied to the discipline of assent. But justice is frequently tied to the discipline of action.
Put your theory into practice.
Exactly. Is another thing that points out that we are not just
navel gazers.
navel gazers that sit on the ground and just contemplate. We get up and we interact with the world and we do things. Well, I've encountered guys who thought that just because they do not commit overt acts of injustice themselves, that's enough. That if they see somebody else being bullied or picked on, it's not them that did it, and therefore they are not obligated to do anything about it.
Right. Do you remember that guy in Britain who?
But that's a mistake. I want to go further and say that's not correct. And it ties back in with your Marcus quote earlier that inaction is a type of action. So if you see something unjust going on and you have the ability to resist that injustice, then you should.
You should, and not doing so is a form of
Injustice.
there was a guy in Britain, I believe it was. I can't remember where exactly. I'll just say Great Britain and leave it at that. But he, I'm trying to remember. He was basically being a jerk at work and saying that, well, he was a stoic, so it's protected speech because other people should just get over it because what happens to them is not up to them. So he had this weird backwards logic of
Well, their theory,
stoicism.
I've seen that argued before, and a lot of times what they say is their emotional responses are not his responsibility. The only thing that's his responsibility is his own emotional reactions, and
Right,
and if they can't handle stress, that means that that's their problem. And
right,
it's like you can't expect everybody in the world to be a stoic. First of all, we are a rare breed.
right. But that also
And
doesn't mean you should go around essentially being unjust on purpose.
exactly, like they use it as an excuse and a crutch to justify, weird word to use, but they use it to justify their poor
Uh,
behavior, and
yeah,
that's not like.
unsocial actions, let's say. Yeah,
And it's kind of irksome because they use stoicism to justify it, which brings the school into disrepute. Because
right.
when they behave that way, and they say it's because they're stoics, they're going to be, wow, these stoics are a bunch of jerks, you know.
Oh, random
which
thing
is the,
popped.
which is the opposite of the truth, at least
Yeah,
if they know what they're talking about.
exactly. Random thing popped in my head. I haven't checked on this in years, to be honest with you, but when I used to be podcasting on a regular basis back in the old days, I started a Kiva account, Kiva. It's a micro loan website where you donate money essentially to it and then lend it out to people in developing nations, especially to start businesses and things like that.
Yeah, I've
And
heard of
I,
that. Like,
and
you give a small loan and they can say buy a cow.
yeah,
Like, because obviously you can't buy a cow in the United States for a small amount of money, but apparently you can in certain countries.
right,
And to them it's life changing,
yeah,
and for you it's a small amount of money.
yeah,
So
and then they, sometimes they pay it back, and then you can just redonate that money to somebody else.
from what I
Um,
understand, more often than not they pay it back,
They
which
usually
is
do, and I created a, Stoic Cosmopolis community on there to encourage people to donate in the name of Stoicism, and I don't remember it wasn't huge, but several people got on there, and we had, did some good around the world, in the name of, deliberately in the name of Stoicism, which was kinda cool.
that is nice.
Yeah. So, speaking of being around the world, one thing I hear that, lives in social groups around the world, Dan, are bees.
Yes, indeed. I have a quote from Musonius Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus, and he references bees and wolves. If you say that each one should look out for his own interests alone, you represent man as no different from a wolf or any other of the wildest beasts, which are born to live by violence and plunder, sparing nothing from which they may gain some advantage, having no part and no life in common with others, no part in cooperation with others, no share of any notion of justice. If you will agree that man's nature more closely resembles the bee, which cannot live alone, for it dies when left alone, but bends its energies to the one common task of his fellows and toils and works together with his neighbors. If this is so, and in addition you recognize that for man, evil consists in injustice and cruelty and indifference to a neighbor's trouble, while virtue is brotherly love, and goodness and justice and beneficence and concern for the welfare of one's neighbor. With such ideas, I say, it would be each man's duty to take care of his city. Musonius Rufus, Lecture 14.
Well, what is it, Marcus? Someone says, what's good for the hive is good for the bee. Uh, Something like that. That's got a similar ring to it. This idea of living according to nature and seeing where other organisms live in such a way that we can emulate or reflect upon, and so this idea of the bees working together. I wanted to plug the Stoic Cosmopolis still exists on Kiva. I was logging in as we checked it. Right now, we have a whole 6 team members.
Any recent activity?
I haven't really been active on Kiva, so they just automatically reinvest reinvest what I put in there. But the Stoic Cosmopolis with 6 members has funded $7,295 worth of projects.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So that was, an unmanaged group that I haven't really been actively working with. But I'm trying to remember. Brittany Polat is or was a member. I don't know if she's still active on here. She wrote a book on Stoicism and parenting, and has or had a blog on Stoicism and families, and was one of the major voices for women in Stoicism. So she was a member of that group on Kiva as well. So anyway, if you want to check it out, you can email me sundaystoic@gmail.com, and I can hook you up with the Stoic Cosmopolis on Kiva if that's something you're interested in. As you said earlier, this idea of justice is so wildly important to counter the Broic side, or the Silicon Valley side of the Stoic movement, and brings it more in alignment with the original philosophy that we had back in the time of Marcus and before, where it was a well-rounded philosophy that really promoted working within your society.
Both those portions of the Stoic community are mistaken about things, but they're mistaken about different things. Like the Silicon Valley guys think of externals as being good. Like they think that earning more money is good, getting that promotion is good. They don't basically seem to think that virtue is the only good.
Right.
And that's where they differ. They're not antisocial per se.
Not necessarily, no.
But the Broics, on the other hand, they seem to. It's all about. My impression of them is that Stoicism is about machismo, and I don't have to feel my feelings, and I'm an island, and all that kind of stuff.
It's often tied in with lots of other strange ideas on relationships with other humans that I won't get into today. But
yeah, particularly their interactions with females, unfortunately.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't disparage Silicon Valley types. Some people grab life hacks from Stoicism and don't pursue it any further than that. And if it helps you, that's great. We're just trying to be a more well-rounded view of provide a more well-rounded view of the philosophy here on the Sunday Stoic Podcast. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning into the Sunday Stoic Podcast. Remember, you can email us at sundaystoic@gmail.com. Please like and review the podcast on whatever platforms you're listening to, because we kind of started again from scratch. We're rebuilding a listenership. So share it on social media. Let people know we exist and help us to grow an audience so we can continue doing this for a while. And that would be, sort of a form of justice, I think.
A preferred indifferent.
Preferred indifferent. So thanks everyone for listening, and don't forget to seize the day.
Carpe diem.
Seize the carps.